We're all told that living on loans is a one-way ticket to financial ruin, right? You think of credit cards, mounting interest, it's a total trap. Well, that is unless you're rich. For the wealthiest people on the planet, debt isn't a trap at all. It's actually a tool, a powerful one. So let's dive into this and see how they use the very thing we're taught to fear, not just to get by, but to get even richer.
And this quote really just nails it. We're trained to see debt as this huge financial burden, something to avoid at all costs. But at the highest levels of wealth, it's looked at as maybe the single most efficient way to fund your lifestyle, all while your net worth keeps growing in the background. It's a complete 180 from everything most of us have ever learned about money.
Exactly. That's the big question, isn't it? How can the exact same thing, a loan, be a path to ruin for one person and a path to riches for another? Well, the answer is pretty fascinating, and it's all about understanding that not all debt is created equal, not by a long shot.
So how does this actually work? It all starts when you realize that the rich and, well, everyone else are playing two completely different games when it comes to borrowing money. It's like they're not even on the same field.
Okay, for most people, the problem really starts right here. You earn a paycheck, the government takes its cut with income tax, and then you use whatever's left over to pay back your loan plus interest. You're getting squeezed from both sides, taxes and interest. It's so easy to think that debt itself is the enemy, but the real trap is using your already taxed income to pay for it. And this slide really lays it all out. It shows the massive shift in your relationship with the bank. For most of us, when you ask for a loan, what does the bank look at? Your job. Your paycheck. You're essentially renting their money, and you pay a high price for it. But for the wealthy, the bank isn't even asking about a paycheck. They're looking at a balance sheet, a portfolio full of assets. And that changes the entire dynamic.
This right here, this is the key that unlocks the whole strategy, the asset-backed loan. The bank isn't lending you money because you promised to pay it back from your salary. Nope, they're lending you money because you already have valuable stuff they can use as collateral. This just crushes their risk, which, as you're about to see, changes absolutely everything about the loan.
All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. How exactly do you use these asset-backed loans to fund your entire life without ever having to sell off your prized possessions? Believe it or not, it boils down to a surprisingly simple three-step process. First, you build up a portfolio of assets that are growing in value. Think stocks, real estate, things banks love. Second, and this is so important, you borrow conservatively against them. You don't get greedy. And third, you set up the loan not for a quick payoff, but for long-term, maximum flexibility. And this is the golden rule. This is what makes the whole system go. A loan is not income. Because it's not considered earned, you pay zero, zip, nada in taxes on it. This is how the wealthy get their hands on huge amounts of cash without triggering a single taxable event. It's a game changer.
Okay, let's walk through a quick example to see this in action. Let's just say you have a portfolio of stocks, maybe some real estate, whatever, and it's worth a cool $50 million. So, you stroll into a private bank and, using that massive portfolio as collateral, you take out a loan for, say, $10 million. That $10 million in cash hits your bank account completely tax-free, ready for you to use on whatever you want, living expenses, a new yacht, you name it.
Now this is where you can really see why the bank loves this deal. Your loan is only 20% of your asset value. That's what's called a loan-to-value ratio, and 20% is considered incredibly safe for them. Because their risk is so low, they give you a fantastic interest rate, let's say 3%. And here is the real kicker. The loan is often structured as interest only. Your only required payment is that $300,000 in interest each year. You don't even have to touch the original $10 million principal.
But hang on, that probably raises a question, right? Loans have due dates. How can this possibly be a lifelong strategy if the bank eventually wants its money back?
So what happens when that 10-year term is up and the bank comes knocking for its $10 million? Well, here's the secret. The rich take out these loans with absolutely no intention of ever paying back the principal with their own money. So how do they pull that off? Simple. They refinance. See, over those 10 years, your $50 million portfolio has been growing. Let's imagine it's now worth $100 million.
You just go back to the bank, take out a new, bigger loan for $20 million. You use the first $10 million to pay off that original loan, and you walk away with another $10 million in fresh, tax-free cash. The cycle just keeps going.
Now, this strategy can literally go on for an entire lifetime. But what about the ultimate endgame? What happens to that loan when the borrower passes away? Well, this is where the strategy goes from just personal wealth to creating multi-generational dynasties. The final piece of this incredible puzzle is a little feature of the tax code called the stepped-up basis. And this is the magic that allows wealth to be transferred so efficiently from one generation to the next. Okay, let's just compare two scenarios to make this crystal clear. Let's say you bought an asset for $1 million and now it's worth $10 million. If you sell it right before you die, you're going to owe capital gains tax on that $9 million profit. But if you hold on to that asset until you die, your heirs inherit it. And here's the thing. The tax system essentially resets the asset's original cost to its current market value. That's the $10 million. So your heirs can immediately sell it for $10 million and pay zero capital gains tax. That $9 million in growth is never taxed.
So here's how it all wraps up so neatly. Your heirs inherit that massively appreciated portfolio. Because of that stepped-up basis, they can sell a small chunk of it, say $10 million worth, completely tax-free to pay off your loan. The rest of the fortune, now debt-free, is all theirs, and the entire cycle of buy, borrow, die is ready to begin all over again.
And all of this leaves us with a pretty big question to think about, doesn't it? Is this system of asset-backed borrowing a bug, a loophole that needs to be fixed? Or is it an intended fundamental feature of a financial system that is designed from the ground up to reward and protect owning assets far more than earning a paycheck? Some to